order and ask for roll call. Mr. Navarro?
Mayor Sanchez.
Present.
Deputy Mayor Keim. Councilmember Joyce. Present. Councilmember Robinson.
Here.
And Councilmember Weiss is not with us tonight.
Thank you, and please rise for the invocation. We have Pastor Roger Vanderverken from Breakwater Community Church.
Thank you, Mayor Sanchez and City Council, for affording these kinds of privileges to the local clergy. We really appreciate it. And as we gather tonight, our Jewish brothers and sisters around the community are sitting down at Seder meals, beginning to celebrate the Passover season. Christians will soon be celebrating Maundy Thursday and Good Friday and Easter Sunday. And we also find ourselves in the midst of Ramadan, where our Muslim brothers and sisters are fasting during the daylight hours. So with that in mind, please join me in prayer. Dear God, we thank you for the freedoms that we enjoy in the United States of America. And as we find ourselves in the midst of all of these important dates, we are especially grateful for the free exercise of religion, something upon which most of us agree. Help us tonight to remind ourselves of the good things that faith brings. With our Jewish brothers and sisters, we reflect on how you broke the back of bitter bondage and slavery through the right hand of your servant Moses. As we celebrate with Christians, we remember the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ and the promise of everlasting life. And as we celebrate with our Muslim brothers and sisters, we are reminded of what it means to humble ourselves before you. So tonight, as City Council meets to discuss the business of the day, we pray for your guidance. We pray for your wisdom. And may our conversations always be seasoned with that principle that touches all of the major faith groups of our world, to love our neighbor as much as we love ourselves. So, Lord, we pray these things in your name, our wonderful counselor, almighty God, everlasting Father, the Prince of Peace. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Vanderverken. Thank you very much. Please remain standing, and Councilmember Robinson, can you lead us on the pledge?
Thank you. Please join me. Ready to begin? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Thank you. And tonight we have a proclamation that is in honor of National Fair Housing Month. Very, very important for us here in the city of Oceanside. So we have the chair of our Housing Commission. Come on down, Inez Williams. We also have Amber Riscala, Director of Employment and Economic Development at Interfaith Community Services, and Brian McDonald. I forgot to write that down. And I believe we will also be joined by one of the attorneys at Legal Aid Society. So this is a proclamation. Oh, there he is. I didn't see you walk in. And this is Mr. Ramesses Serban.
Yes, hi.
And I remember you. Yeah, very cool. So this is a proclamation in honor of National Fair Housing Month, whereas April 5th, 2023 marks the 55th anniversary of the passage of the Federal Fair Housing Act, Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1968, as amended, which emancipates a national commitment to fair housing without regard to race, color, religion, gender, national origin, familial status, and disability. And whereas the Fair Housing Act was signed on April 11th, 1968, just 1 week after the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And whereas this year's theme of National Fair Housing Month is Choices for All Voices, Building an Equitable Future, reflecting a national commitment to advancing equity in housing and the importance of increasing public awareness of everyone's right to fair housing. And whereas the California Fair Employment and Housing Act of 1963, as amended, offers additional protections for fair housing without regard to marital status, age, source of income, sexual orientation, medical condition, gender identity, source of income, and other arbitrary status. And whereas the City of Oceanside, in partnership with the Legal Aid Society of San Diego, Inc., is committed to federal and state fair housing laws by continuing to address discrimination in our community, supporting programs that will educate the public about the right to equal housing opportunities, and implementing partnership efforts with other organizations such as the Interfaith Community Services to help assure every American of his or her right to fair housing. And whereas Fair Housing Month has helped open doors of opportunity for countless families here in Oceanside since its passage, making significant progress in achieving equal housing access for all individuals. And whereas the City of Oceanside acknowledges the efforts of the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, the California Department of Fair Employment and Housing, and countless other state agencies, local governments, and community members for promoting fair housing. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Esther C. Sanchez, on behalf of the City of Oceanside, do hereby proclaim April 2023 as Fair Housing Month in the City of Oceanside and encourage all Oceanside residents to become more aware of their rights and responsibilities within our community. So, thank you so much to those that are here with us. They literally spend hours and hours and hours working on these very, very specific rights. And I have a copy of the proclamation for each, right? Thank you. And I'm going to go ahead and hand the mic to Inez Williams.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Honorable Mayor and City Council members, and to the Oceanside community. Thank you so much, and I would like to acknowledge City of Oceanside Housing Director, Director Leilani Hines, who I work very closely with. She's here in the back on today. Thank you so much. It has been a pleasure working with you. If you did the math, then you would know that this marks the 55th year for the Fair Housing Act. And so I'm excited about that. I feel like that we're making progress here within the City of Oceanside, HUD, and the Oceanside Housing Commission. We are renewing our commitment. I wrote this down. We're renewing our commitment to level the playing field so that everyone can have access to equitable and affordable housing, not just in this nation, but more in particularly here in the City of Oceanside. And so that is one of the goals of the Housing Commission. I do want to acknowledge Commissioner Parker, who is here with me on today from the Housing Commission, and any other commissioners that are here. Well, thank you so much. And that's the commitment that the Housing Commission has made. And it has been your pleasure to serve as your chair, and we're just going to continue to go forth and be a force to reckon with here within the City of Oceanside to ensure that every citizen has access to affordable housing here within our city. And with that, I would like to pass the mic to...
My name is Amber Riscala, and I'm the Director of Employment and Economic Development with Interfaith Community Services. In December of 2021, Interfaith received just over $1 million from the City of Oceanside to provide tenant-based rental assistance, or Tibra, to 38 low-income Oceanside households earning less than 60% of the area median income. This safety net program helps families who are struggling to overcome barriers, obtain and maintain housing by providing them with temporary rental assistance until they can get on their feet. There has been a huge response to this program, reflecting a significant need in the community. Over the past year, we have received over 760 referrals for Tibra eligibility screenings. Of those, we have provided rental subsidies, move-in costs, and housing inspections for safety and habitability to 69 households, which include 166 individuals, well above the targeted number. Of those households, 32 are single-parent units, which comprise almost half of the total number served. 14 units house elderly individuals, and 8 units house individuals who were experiencing homelessness. all interfaith clients are provided with housing stability and case management support designed to help clients reach self-sufficiency. And some of those services include housing search and application assistance, financial literacy, education and budgeting, employment assistance, job search applications, resume building and mock interviews, transportation support, access to our pantry for food, hygiene items, and diapers, benefit application support, and referrals to other community services such as medical and behavioral health providers. My colleague Brian McDonald is our housing stability case manager for our Tibra program, and he will share with you a brief success story.
Good afternoon. My name is Brian McDonald. As Amber said, I'm the housing stability case manager for the Tibra program. One of our clients had a significant impact from the Tibra program, and I just want to read a little bit of her story. This client is a single mother of 2 children who had experienced domestic violence and was living in the Transitional Housing Women's Resource Center. She was working part-time as a certified nursing assistant, but recently lost her job as she missed work to attend her son's doctor's appointments for cystic fibrosis. Intense worry followed because she had signed a lease for an apartment in Oceanside with an approaching move-in date. Without a job, she was feeling stressed and anxious about how she would be able to provide for her family and pay for moving costs and rent. This client was referred to the Tibra program. She was approved for her monthly subsidy, and Tibra was able to help her with the moving costs with subsequent rental subsidy, and she has been a participant since November 2022. During this time, she has been able to regain full-time employment and then has been able to apply and work toward additional certifications that will help not only her family, but her income. I also want to say that the Tibra program has been able to greatly impact its clients in a profound and positive way. It's been an honor to serve the Oceanside community, and I really thank you for the support and the commitment of the City of Oceanside. Thank you.
I don't really like to give acknowledgements, but since I started, I do want to acknowledge Councilmember Eric Joyce because he is our liaison for housing. I apologize for admitting you the first time around, and it is so great that we have someone who supports housing from the council, which has not always been the case. So we do appreciate you and everything that you're doing and working with us, Councilmember Eric Joyce.
Thank you. And if you didn't catch it all, this is one of our priorities, the Tibra program, which is the tenant-based rental assistance. A lot of words to say that right now is a very difficult time for most renters. The rents are doubling. People are being asked to leave, basically because either the unit is going to be, or the whole building is going to be renovated. And so when they're out looking, we have a historic 1% or maybe even less than that vacancy rate. So that means that the market is very, very tough. And so this is a program that would help someone who may need help for the first year up to, I think, 18 months to make up that difference with the higher rents. And so this is something I understand that our home funds, we get about $500,000 a year. This is something that goes to this program. Some of the funds go to this program and really helps out a lot of folks. So the goal here is to prevent people from becoming homeless by helping them make up that difference in the rent. So thank you all. Thank you very much. We also have our legal aid attorney.
Yes, hi. Hello. My name is Ramesses Serban. I'm the staff attorney from Legal Aid assigned to the City of Oceanside to investigate and enforce fair housing complaints. I want to thank you, Mayor Sanchez, and to all the Oceanside City Council members, as well as city staff, for the work you do every day. We're very proud to call you our partner and to accept this recognition of our work to ensure that the City of Oceanside and its residents have fair and equal access to housing. So Legal Aid Society provides free legal services to indigent residents throughout the county and in the City of Oceanside. Our mission is to improve lives by advancing justice through effective, efficient, and vigorous legal advocacy, outreach, and education. I'm personally involved in directly providing legal services to residents of the City of Oceanside and investigating allegations of fair housing. And then if those allegations are substantiated and meritorious, advocating towards the resolution of those complaints. So in 1968, as you all know, Congress passed the Fair Housing Act, which prohibits discrimination in the purchase, sale, rental, or financing of housing. The act and its legacy represent stability, hope, safety, and opportunities to break out of the cycle of poverty. But unfortunately, passage of the act did not end discrimination, and 55 years later, there's still much work to be done. Our office receives many calls from the city of Oceanside and its residents struggling to access housing and maintain housing stability. Our fair housing lawyers and staff protect their rights by preventing and redressing discriminatory conduct through a wide variety of assistance. Some of those means of assistance are educating landlords, tenants, and our government partners about their rights and responsibilities under the Fair Housing Act. We also help people obtain reasonable accommodations, file administrative complaints, and as well bring impact litigation. Lastly, we also run a fair housing testing program, one of the few agencies in the county to do so. So all these tools ensure that the Fair Housing Act remains an effective tool to keep America's promise of housing justice for all. As we all know, laws are created to protect us, but laws alone do not bridge the gap to justice. They need someone there to enforce them. As Martin Luther King said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. So thank you, Mayor Sanchez. Thank you to the City of Oceanside for partnering with us so we can continue to fight for justice and for fair housing for all Oceanside residents, not just during Fair Housing Month, but throughout the entire year. Thank you.
Thank you, Ramesses. Thank you very much. We're going to have a photo here, but yes, this is so critical because, you know, one of the biggest concerns of our community is homelessness, and this is a big, you know, a time to talk about this and highlight one of the programs that really helps on this. Thank you. Thank you. We have the closed session report. Mr. Mullen?
Thank you. The council met in closed session at 3:30 to discuss several items. There was no meeting on item 1. On item 2A1, the council met to discuss existing litigation in the matter of in-ray national opioid litigation settlements involving Teva, Allergen, CVS, Walgreens, and Walmart. Case number 117MD2804. The council voted 4-0 with Councilmember Weiss absent to authorize the city attorney to execute all settlement documents necessary for Oceanside to receive its allocated share of settlement proceeds. On item 3, the council did not meet on item 3A, but did meet on item 3B to conduct a conference with its real property negotiator involving the 1.92 acres of land located at 3141 Oceanside Boulevard. The negotiating parties are the City of Oceanside and Altaloma Creekside Property, LLC. Under negotiations are price and terms for the acquisition of real property. Council met, gave direction. There's no reportable action under the Brown Act at this time.
Thank you. Consent calendar items 5 through 22. Is there a motion to approve? There's a motion.
We actually have public pulling one of the items.
Which item is that?
Item number 12.
Item number 12. Is there a second to moving approval for the balance? Okay, there's a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 4-0.
Thank you. Item number 12 is approval of Amendment 1 to the Professional Services Agreement with Bureau Veritas North America, Inc. in the amount of $15,750 for a new agreement total of $137,950 for consultant fire and life safety plan review services and authorization for the city manager to execute the amendment. Mr. Knott.
Mayor, council members, Jimmy Knott, 127 Sherry Lane, Los Salinas Mobile Village homeowners representative. I rise today in order to take and remind the city that each and every park, mobile home park, has a fire and safety emergency plan. And many of these plans have not been reviewed in years. I would encourage the city, under these plans, that the review, if they could be included in this. I don't know how far this goes, but the fire department is the master of these plans, and to check with every park that is in the city to double check that the current status of their fire and safety and emergency plans are up to date. If they are not, to take appropriate action. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, I'd like to move approval for item number 12. There's a motion and a second. Any other comments? No, please vote.
Motion approved, 4-0.
Thank you, and we are making history. We are making history, have made history this month by the appointment of our new police chief, our 20th police chief for the city of Oceanside. We have Kedrick Sadler is our new OPD chief of police, and Chief Sadler, Chief Sadler, would you come forward and say a few words? Congratulations. The mic. The mic. There we go.
It is an absolute honor to be named the 20th police chief for the city of Oceanside. I've been a part of this department for 22 and a half years, and I consider the department my family. And I've grown up here in the city of Oceanside, and this community has been great to me. I talk all the time about Oceanside and how it embraces diversity. And if you ever get a chance and you look at the mission and our vision statement, our core values for our city, it repeats and it talks about diversity. And my selection, I think, was a great opportunity where we showed just how diverse we could be. So I take this appointment very seriously, and I'll plan on making sure that the Oceanside Police Department, that we are the shining star and example of what law enforcement should be. And I look forward to leading some great men and women in our organization. And you can rest assured that the department is in good hands, and we're going to go forward and we're going to serve you proud. So thank you for the opportunity, our elected officials, our city manager. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be our chief of police. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to item number 26. That is my request to make appointments to or motions for removal from some or all of the city's advisory groups. I move that we approve this. Is there a second? Okay, there's a motion and second. Any requests to speak? Councilmember Robinson?
Thank you, Mayor. Before we vote on this, I just want to say thank you to all those who put in their applications. I'm sure all the council members reviewed the book. I know I did. We looked at them. And this is one of the duties that falls to the mayor to put this list of recommendations together, and then the council, we approve it. And I just want to say, I know there are individuals out there, either here in the audience or watching at home, that had asked to be included in this, and not every. Yeah, I'm not starting over.
I thought it was on too, actually.
I did too. So anyways, just to say thank you to all those who did put in. The mayor couldn't pick everybody for the number of slots. We had more applicants than we did positions available. And I think that goes to show the need for this commission and the desire of people to serve on it. And just personally for those who I talked to and encouraged and wanted to support, if your name didn't get picked this time, please consider other commissions or when openings do occur that you come back and apply again. So that's all I wanted to say is thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Joyce?
Yeah, I just want to say a few things. So we've seen a lot of progress on inclusion and equality in our city, and we continue to see inequalities in our day-to-day reality. The COVID-19 is a really good example of something that affected us all, but disproportionately impacted communities of color. COVID wasn't an outlier, but really just a recent example of what we see with disproportionate representation of people of color in the criminal justice system, and the homeless population, and home ownership rates, maternal mortality, and many other societal and municipal-based quality of life measures. So I'm excited about this commission. I'm excited that they have an opportunity, that we have an opportunity to create this space for those vital conversations to happen, and from those conversations leading to vital action. So I just want to say that I support the mayor's recommended appointments, and I look forward to following this commission's work.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Keim.
I do have some concerns with appointments or the lack of appointments. There are some applicants that have given years of service to the city that were very interested, that either they weren't considered or they weren't appointed. However, for the sake of moving this forward, I'm going to support it tonight. But again, this has been an ongoing challenge of filling these vacant spots on committees and commissions.
Thank you. Please vote.
Motion approved, 4-0.
Thank you. Item number 27 is a request, my request and Councilmember Rick Robinson's request to direct staff to bring to council action temporarily waiving payment of the annual registration fees for mobile home parks authorized under 16B of the Oceanside City Code. And if Ms. Leilani Hines could come forward in case there are some questions. If you could sit at the dais, because I did get some questions about this. I approached Councilmember Robinson about doing this because we both attended the meeting, the NOI meeting that was recently held. It was actually a hearing before our Manufactured Home Fair Practices Commission. It was the first one in, I want to say, 30 years or something. So one of the recommendations from the Fair Practices Commission was basically to consider asking me as a liaison to ask this council to consider waiving the registration fees for 1 or 2 years going forward in the future, or going forward, period, to try to help alleviate the raises in the rents that basically took place on that night. And basically it was a formula, very difficult to, it wasn't like a range, it was an actual number. So Councilmember Robinson, did you want to have anything else to say?
No, I just think it would be beneficial. I'm forgetting things tonight. I just think it would be beneficial to have an explanation of what this means, this particular action would mean, and leave it to Ms. Hines.
Right, I did ask Ms. Hines about this and how much money was in the kitty, and it can only be used for this, these purposes. So, Ms. Hines?
Sure. So the city annually collects a registration fee that is placed on mobile home park owners. They do have the ability to pass on 50% of that fee onto mobile home park residents themselves. The fee is collected, we call it a registration fee because it is for the sole purpose of administering Chapter 16B. So that pays for staffing to answer questions, emails, the implementation of the annual permissive, and as we saw this year, the NOI process. That fee was used to pay for the consultant that we hired to review that. And then funds are also used should, it's almost, I would characterize it as almost like insurance. In case there are cases that come forward that challenge the city's decision or the commission's decisions, those funds would also be used to pay for any litigation cost. Again, attorneys, consultants, et cetera. There is balance in that fund available at this point in time, so that if you all waive that fee for now, for a short period of time, there is balance there, but it would start to eat it. If we had a case that came forward, then that fund could be quickly depleted.
So right now, the balance is something over $1 million, is that correct? Yeah, thank you. So this would be basically directing staff to bring to council a recommendation with respect to this, and that is for waiving the annual registration fees for 1 to 2 years. Basically, that would be it. So that's our motion.
Can I just add?
Yes.
How much time would you need to develop that so we don't put too much pressure on you?
The waiver of the fee
No, to come back to council.
to come back to council pretty quickly.
Okay.
Will this be in time for this year's?
So that we would need to take that into consideration. You have the budget workshops coming up. That funding source is anticipated for this upcoming budget cycle. So we would need to take that impact into consideration before we come forward on budget issues for our department.
All right, thank you. Do we have any requests to speak from the
Yes, we do.
public?
We have one request from Jimmy Knott.
Mayor, council members, Jimmy Knott, 127 Cherry Lane, Los Alamos Mobile Village, homeowners representative. You're addressing the key issue that is of concern to me, is that the funding that we pay as mobile home owners to support, that are on rent control, to support this ordinance, is a question on if it is relieved for what period of time would put an endangerment on the ordinance itself. Because if there is not enough money to support the ordinance, that puts it at risk in the public eye. And we don't want to do that.
Right.
We want it to be self-supporting. So if that can be included about the impacts there, and also the impacts on the mobile home owners themselves, especially those who are low-income mobile home owners, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. And historically, this was a lower fee, and then it didn't, for a period of time, it did not bring enough funding to pay for some of the hearings, and so that fee was raised. And so we've had several years of not having hearings. So that's why it's now at like $1.5 million, something close to that. Councilmember Joyce.
Are we anticipating seeing more hearings over the next year to 2 years, given the inflation?
That's hard to tell. I think there were comments during the mobile home, the Manufactured Fair Practices Commission that, with the NOI approval, that there may be a case where more park owners come forward, seeing that NOI was approved. So and with inflationary times, costs going up for all parties, both for our residents and park owners, that could be a possibility. And so hence why I call the fund a little bit of an insurance program. If something does occur, if we get more cases, it could be quite costly.
Okay. The only other thought I had on this was it almost seems like we could create, and this is more complicated than the current request, but create a system where it collects enough funds that we know we can cover. I would assume there's a monetary value that we could hit, and then we could relax the fees until we go under that again. So like a systemic process that adjusts the fees accordingly, but I would support this otherwise. I prefer a system that is sustainable, but this works.
Thank you. And it was, the request was for 26% increase, and the decision of the Fair Practice Commission was 3.75. So that was a lot less than what's requested. Councilmember Robson, did you want to speak?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, the action that we're asking, I think it includes a comprehensive if-then. If you do this, these are the things that could happen, so we can make an informed decision. Just because we're putting this out, requesting this to be put on a future agenda doesn't necessarily mean that we are in agreement or not, because we don't have enough information.
Thank you. Please vote.
Motion approved, 4-0.
Thank you. Back to item number 25, which is communications from the public on off-agenda items. Do we have a request to speak?
We have 5 requests to speak on item number 25. Our first speaker is David Newman, to be followed by Diana Ruiz, to be followed by Sandy Beal.
Ready for that? All right. David Newman, Fire Mountain. The City of Oceanside announced that they would be accepting applications for a couple of available cannabis licenses to open on March 27th and ending on April 26th, only to announce at the last minute that the application process has been delayed until further notice due to the city's cannabis consultant being unable to provide an updated application process. I find it strange that the city would provide an application period if they didn't already have something firm from this consultant, only to find out that they have nothing and don't know when they will. This puts the city and the applicant in a very precarious situation. The fact that submitting a cannabis application is a rather large endeavor with multiple stages of scoring and literally hundreds of pages and documents required throughout each stage. To accomplish this means that to submit an application, applicant will have to be well ahead of the application time period, especially since the application window has been narrowed down to 30 days instead of the usual 45 days. Given the city's requirement of needing both a safety and security plan created by entities suitable to provide these plans, which also take anywhere from 30 to 45 days to complete, and cost thousands of dollars, and given the application itself is incredibly huge and daunting, consultants need to be hired to help make sure the application is completed without fault. So that means a rather large investment has to be made, and the process must begin months prior in order to accommodate the application period, only to learn the city's paid consultant is unable to complete their task and sidelines applicants until further notice. Considering the city has not seemed to have any issues with the application process over the last 4 years, I can't help but wonder why the application process needs to change unless the city plans to make the process easier, but pretty sure that's not going to be the case. 7 months ago, I was also informed by then City Planning Division staff Stephanie Cervantes via email that the city's second cannabis delivery license has been granted to the final waitlisted applicant, only to find that license is currently available, making her email statement to me a complete and utter lie. Unfortunately, Ms. Cervantes is no longer with the city, but this is just another example of what's happening in Oceanside's cannabis category, which could be putting the city in an awkward position. We would like the city to provide an update as to when the paid consultant will have the new application process, or simply use the same one they used last year, to allow the applicants to submit their long, tedious, and expensive applications for any and all available licenses within a reasonable time frame. At this point, the time frame has been left open-ended and should be solidified as soon as possible. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. This is a process question. Mr. Mullen, are you able to address this?
I'm not aware of the issues. I'm happy to talk to the speaker and get back to him, but I'm not aware of the dates involved right now.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Ms. Diana Reese?
Hi, Mayor and council members. I am Diana Reese, and I'm a Oceanside student and a senior. I'm here to talk on the Eddy Warehouse project. I know this was brought up quite some time ago, but I still want to voice my opinion on how detrimental it is to Oceanside and how it will not benefit us. It being built so close to an elementary school, I think the trailers will create a lot of air pollution and affect our young children. I also think that the traffic will be a major issue, especially because of a fire station right there. I'm concerned with how our emergency services are going to get through, how our traffic is going to be dealt with, because with more trailers comes more emission and more spaces. I think that this will not be a good place to be built, and I don't think it's a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Sandy Beal.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor Sanchez and council members. My name is Sandy Beal from Rancho San Luis Rey Mobile Home Park. I'm the park representative, and I'm also the president of the Homeowners Association. Tomorrow night is the Manufactured Home Fair Practices Commission meeting. Rancho San Luis Rey did pass our health and safety inspection that was done by Jackie Bickford. She also came out February 28th at 6:30 p.m. to check the lighting in our park. That was by request only, but she did do that. She did have a meter to measure the foot candles, which only have to be 0.2 of a foot candle, and Rancho San Luis Rey was compliant. My question is about our water isolation valves. Many of the isolation valves were replaced last year. There are still 6 isolation valves that have not even been looked at. We were told that the fire department would come out to our park as part of the yearly health and safety inspection to exercise the isolation valves. I asked Jackie Bickford about the isolation valves, and she informed me that there was a building permit and it was finalized on September 1, 2022, and it's complete. I then asked her if there'd be another inspection, and Jackie said she wouldn't be part of that inspection, it would be the fire department. I then sent an email to Kirk Munt, Leilani Hines, and Jackie Bickford on March 25th when the fire about the fire department, or when they'll be performing its yearly inspection of the isolation valves. I heard back from Mr. Munt the same day, and he said, quote, I don't want to speculate, so I'll forward your email to the fire department so they can respond. They'll be able to provide you with the best answer regarding any isolation valve requirements, quote. Okay, that was 12 days ago. I've not heard anything from the fire department. Exercising the isolation valves was something that the previous fire marshal wanted done yearly at all of the mobile home parks. I think that Jackie Bickford and the park representative should be able to be present during those inspections conducted by the fire department. It seems the departments in the city of Oceanside do not speak to one another. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have our fire chief here, so if you could discuss this outside, that would be great. Thank you, Ms. Parker.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and Council. My name is Shelly Parker. I live in Rancho San Luis Rey. I wanted to take a moment to thank publicly the members of the Manufactured Fair Practices Housing Commission. The last meeting at the NOI on the special meeting was, shall I say, grueling. And unfortunately, for them, I think that the city staff didn't quite do as much as they could to prepare them. At 10:30 at night, they were trying to figure out whether they had to, exactly what they had to vote on. And I've looked at 16B, and it didn't say that they had to make a decision that night. They weren't directed, everybody was tired, and this is money that people who are on fixed incomes are actually, it may have to choose between paying their rent or buying food. And so I would have liked to have thought that the council or the commission could have actually adjourned for the evening, taken a deep breath, and come back after the next day and rendered a decision. I don't see anything in 16B that precludes that. I think they did an admirable job. I think they needed to be they needed to have a lot more education because I noticed that there was strict adherence to some of the language in the NOI, but the 16B actually allowed for there to be an expanded verification of the things that the park owner had actually provided to the consultant. And if that was taken into account, I don't know that the outcome would have been the same. But I actually think that these people as volunteers are doing a great job. But this is something that is really actually impacting people's lives and money. And so I think they need education. And actually, this is the one commission, since this was a hearing, and they have the right to make these decisions, I think they should actually be paid. And so that's just my feeling on it. But I think they need a lot more education, because I think there was some things that were lacking. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mayor, council members, Jimmy Knott, 127 Sherry Lane, La Salina Mobile Village. I would agree with Shelly a little bit, is that the commissioners did look tired. And I would agree that they needed to take us at least a break to refresh themselves at the Manufacturing Practices Commission. But that's another time, that's another decision that they have to make. But first, I want to say thank you to Councilmember Joyce for bringing together a number of different people citywide from the senior community to start discussions on issues related to the senior communities, as we do not have a senior commission, and to start addressing important issues that have been long needing to be addressed, that have been abandoned over the years. And he patiently sat there with his aide, listening, taking notes, and I wanted to commend him on that. He promised to follow up onto that. And I would encourage the rest of the council to take and work with him and provide him input as well, since he's seeming to spearhead this, and to see if we can somehow reestablish the senior commission in some way, shape, or form to get it going. Also, I wanted to bring up an issue personally. I'm seeing Oceanside in new colors, beautiful colors, things I have not seen in years. I had bilateral cataract lens replacement surgery. And what happened was they removed these yellowish lenses out of my eyes and put in new lenses. And I'm seeing colors I have not seen since I was a little kid. And it's a beautiful city out there. And if there's any person out there that has cataract surgery, don't fear, do it. You'll see a new world. It's worth it. It's worth it. And Oceanside is a beautiful city. Please, and the hummingbirds out there are fabulous. Take a moment and do it. Please, don't fear. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And we still have 10 minutes before our 6 o'clock item. Let's see, how about general council member comments? Councilmember Joyce.
Thank you, Mr. Knott. It's been with so much rain, it's going to be a spring to remember for sure. This wildflowers are everywhere. Just to follow up on some of those comments, I mean, the senior commission did have a big role in our city, and unfortunately it was disbanded when several of our other commissions were disbanded. Would it be appropriate to ask for support for us to direct staff to look into bringing back that commission? Or do we need to agendize that?
Is that something we could direct staff to come back with an item with respect to reconstituting the senior commission at this time?
Okay. Yeah.
Your mic is not on.
The assistant city manager is hearing you, and perhaps he'd want to bring it back on his own, too. He could always do that without formal action.
I do know that there are a lot of cities who are taking up the issue in a very formal way to make sure that their cities have senior planning, a very formalized plan for seniors, given that we are seeing an increasing number of senior residents over the next couple of years. So I look forward to hopefully working on that with staff.
Right, and I mean, I look forward to having the senior commission reconstitute. I'm not voting, right? So we're,
Right.
you know, but it was a very well attended, very active. They did the senior expo. I mean, they did a lot, and seniors volunteer so much, and so I think we probably. I don't have any lights, but I guess we can't say anything more on this. But yes. Mr. Gossman. Okay, thank you. Any other comments from the council? General comments? Nope. Nope. Okay, I do want to talk about something that happened on Saturday. It was the Willie Banks Track and Field Invitational. I had never been able, it was the 10th annual, and I'd never been able to attend it. Willie Banks, world champion, triple jumper from OHS, class of 74, a really good class. That was my class. And what I did not understand was how many really talented athletes we have at our high schools, and that don't end up getting an invitation to come to a track and field meet. Head coach Jesse Guillen approached OHS coach and former quarterback for the Green Bay Packers and San Diego Chargers, Willie Buchanan, who continues to be coaching at OHS. They then approached Willie Banks, and that was back in 2012. They had the first invitational, and they ended up having students from over 20 schools come. So it has been so very, very successful. They just had the 10th annual on Saturday, and let me tell you, there were students from 22 schools from in-state California and out of state. This is a really, really amazing. It was at the same time as Ironman, so you know there was a lot of things going on in Oceanside, but I want to tell you, this invitational, I mean, just watching these kids compete like for the first time, be able to attend and get that, you know, letter of invitation, right? And then to go on and get scholarships for college, for, you know, for their athletic sport, for their sport. So it's fantastic. I just want to say thank you to everyone, to OHS and to, I'm sure, El Camino. There were all these schools, Carlsbad, you know, everybody participated locally, and as I said, out of California as well. So we'll go ahead and take a break for 5 minutes, and then we'll do the 6 o'clock item. Just a little over 6 o'clock, 6:02. So we're back in session to handle our last item for the night, and that is our public hearing item, which is item number 23. That is adoption of a resolution approving submission of the 2023 to 2024 Public Housing Agency Annual Plan for the Housing Choice Voucher Program to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, that's HUD, with the inclusion of changes made to the PHA Annual Plan as a result of public comments, and authorization for the executive director or designee to execute any and all related documents for submittal. I'm going to like to go ahead and open this hearing and ask... well, yeah, I know. And asked disclosures from the commissioners with respect to constituent contacts and correspondence.
None.
No public input.
Just input as a commission liaison and some public feedback.
Staff.
Right, thank you. Mr. Secretary, do you have any correspondence and/or petitions?
We have not received any correspondence or petition on this.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and start with a presentation by Raymond Roll, our Housing Program Manager. Mr. Roll?
Hi. Good evening. Community Development Chair Sanchez and Honorable CDC Commissioners. I'm bringing before you this, before the CDC, the PHA, Public Housing Authority Annual Plan 23-24. All right. As Chair Sanchez mentioned, we're recommending that the CDC adopt a resolution approving the submission of the 23-24 PHA plan to HUD with the inclusion of changes made to the plan as a result of public comments, and to authorize the executive director or designee to execute any and all related documents for submittal. As some background, a public housing authority has 3 formative documents that require public comment and board approval. The first is the 5-year plan, which describes the PHA's missions, goals, objectives, policies, and strategies for addressing the low-income housing needs in its jurisdiction over a 5-year period. All PHAs must submit a 5-year plan to HUD for approval, and our current plan covers 2020 to 2025. And our current plan was adopted March 25th, 2020. The PHA Annual Plan supplements the 5-year plan and reports the progress in meeting the 5-year plan goals, describes any changes to essential policies and procedures since the previous year, and provides the PHA's approach to development, management, and provision of the services in the upcoming year. It's basically a progress report. The deadline to submit is April 17th, 2023 to HUD. There's also an administrative plan, which was revised in December 2021, and it's essentially a handbook on operating the Section 8 Housing Choice and Project-Based Voucher Program. So for the PHA Annual Plan, there's public review and outreach. We conducted a resident advisory board meeting on January 17th, 2023. It was accepted, the plan was accepted with no comments. There was public review and comment, and it's a 45-day period. It began on February 19th and ends today, April 5th, 2023. The PHA Annual Plan is at our offices and it's also on the website. At the February 28th Housing Commission meeting, the Commission recommended approval of submission to HUD. And finally, today is our public hearing, and we recommend that the CDC approve submission to HUD. So there were 3 updates on this PHA Annual Plan. The first update is the element to expand the supply of assisted housing. We did this by getting 13 new housing choice vouchers from HUD. And in addition, we added 59 project-based vouchers through a new development called Greenbrier Village. They had their groundbreaking in 2023, and it's on the corner of Oceanside Boulevard and Greenbrier Drive, where there's going to be 59 studio and 1-bedroom apartment homes for lower-income residents. The next element that we're reporting on is improving our voucher management and to become a high performer. We do that through a required CMAP, which stands for Section 8 Management Assessment Program. And it's an annual self-assessment that we complete. Due to the pandemic, it's been waived for 3 years. And staff is currently completing the self-assessment tool that objectively measures key areas like inspection, enforcement, waitlist selection, and file review. The CMAP is due to HUD 60 days after the end of the fiscal year, and that's August 29th of this year. And as I mentioned, staff is currently working on the CMAP self-assessment and will submit to HUD in a timely manner. The third element that we're updating is promoting self-sufficiency of assisted households. Our first objective is assisting 50 households with a family self-sufficiency program. Currently, there are 37 households participating, and we will be recruiting new participants subject to the new FSS final rule, which came out in 2022. We're going to be applying under the 2023 FSS NOFO that comes out in the fall. And in addition, we're going to be utilizing the new website to provide detailed and clear information on the Housing Choice Voucher Program, project-based vouchers, and also Family Self-Sufficiency Program. So in conclusion, again, we recommend that the CDC adopts a resolution approving the submission of the PHA Annual Plan to HUD with the inclusion of changes made to the plan as a result of public comments, and finally authorize the executive director or designee to execute any and all related documents for submittal. That concludes my presentation, and staff and I are available to answer any questions.
Thank you very much. Do we have any requests to speak from the public in writing?
Yes, we do. We only have one from Jimmy Knott.
Okay. And then after Mr. Knott speaks, this is a public hearing. You will not, you do not need to have filled out a slip or to sign up to speak. You actually can speak on this item. After Mr. Knott speaks, you can approach the podium and state your name, and then you have up to 3 minutes to speak. So, Mr. Knott.
Mayor, council members, Jimmy Knott, 127 Sherry Lane, Los Salinas Mobile Village homeowners representative. I have been in touch with the current homeowners representative over at Terrace Gardens, who is the homeowners representative of the only park to be Title 25 inspected. This is the new wrinkle that we have in our city that is being impacted, that is not being included into the consideration here, that is breeding a lot of fear among a lot of the homeowners. There is a question of violations of the Title 25 code and what may be violations of their homes in the situ that their homes are in. Now, the question is, can it be corrected? Are there funds being set aside for those people who cannot afford to do those corrections? I did not see anything here that would say, we will help you if you cannot afford it. This is where it's better to take on the head end to help somebody instead of taking and making them homeless. This is something where we can do preventative work and do preventative insurance at a lower cost. I would encourage you to look at that to see what we can do to be preventative in assisting people. This would take and help our city in preventing new homeless residents. Now, on the other side of the coin is that we have to take in consideration of future Title 25 inspections in the city and how that they may be impacting other homeowners who are low income in the city, and also informing those people who may not be as low income to tell them you might want to start thinking about building a reserve to take and address any deficiency, and talk with the city itself to see if there is any past decisions, like any type of water redirection that may have affected boundaries that have set up, let's say, fencing that has set up a barrier that may have diminished space between a home and the other side. So these are situations which you may want to consider.
Thank you, Mr. Knott. This is a public hearing. If you'd like to address this issue, please approach the podium. You have up to 3 minutes to speak. Please state your name and then start speaking.
Honorable Mayor and City Council, again, I'm Shelly Parker from Rancho San Luis Rey. I will say to you that there is something called the MORE project through HCD that I have been monitoring. There will be millions of dollars that is given out, and I've been speaking with Ms. Hines to stay on that, to be able for this city to apply for funds to do just exactly what Mr. Knott is talking about and to help our low-income residents. It may not be in time because, of course, we know how slowly the state works, but they are getting close to being able to have a program that we can apply for. So I do want you to know that. It is something that I'm looking very forward to. I'm aware of it because I am the state treasurer for GSMOL, and we have oversight in mobile home residency law that we wrote the MRL. So I look forward to this money being available and the Housing Commission to the Housing, Ms. Hines's department applying for and getting these funds. I know that there are funds that are set aside every year in the $100,000 range, but this would really make a difference to the people who are in low income and really do need this to be able to fix their homes, because if they don't, you can get evicted for it. So this is important, and I will stay on this, as I'm hoping Ms. Hines will too. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other individuals wishing to address this issue? Please approach the podium, state your name, and you have up to 3 minutes to speak.
Hi, I'm Kelly O'Neill. Madam Mayor and council members, hello. And I came late. I heard the presentation, but I don't know enough about the presentation, but I did hear 59 low-income studios in my neighborhood, and the methadone clinic is right around the corner. And I just want to, I hope there's some standards of like what's going to happen like 4 years from now or even 2 years from now. I just don't want it to turn into an ugly place where things are just thrown about and the methadone people are, like their tent city moves from Apple Street over to, it gets dragged out down that street and they're just walking back and forth. And I don't know, that's one of my concerns is the methadone clinic's already there. And I just want that place to be uplifted. I grew up in that neighborhood and I just see it's going down and down. We need a butcher. We need a shoe repair, a shoemaker. We need a dress shop. I mean, that's what we need there. We need that methadone clinic gone, and maybe that'll help keep that place that planned on going in, keep it uplifted. But I love my neighborhood, and thank you.
Thank you. No one else rising to speak. I'm going to go ahead and close this portion of the public hearing. Oh, that's not mine. That's why. I'm like, what is going on? So I give staff to respond. Ms. Hines, or
Sure, I'll go ahead and respond to that question.
Jerome?
So this plan is related to our Housing Choice Voucher Program, which is the Section 8 Rental Assistance Program. We've heard some comments related to the Title 25 Mobile Home Inspection Program. I think a few weeks back, you all heard and held a public hearing related to our HUD, CDBG, and home entitlement funds. We do provide a program for rehabilitation of single-family homes and mobile homes through the CDBG funds. We have continued to fund that program, especially in light of pending Title 25 inspection, the inspection process, and knowing that there may be some households that do need assistance. So you will have the chance and the opportunity to review that budget again in May for those CDBG funds, and we continue to address those issues through that program. In terms of the MORE program, we are watching the MORE program. It currently just ended in February, the review of the guidelines. We anticipate that in May that the NOFO will be out there by HCD and intend to look at that. It is a program that does try to go beyond the resident ownership of mobile home parks, but starts to address the rehab issues that are needed in some of our parks, especially parks that have been aging and that are older. So we are watching that funding source.
Right, so I guess the question that was asked is, can you use these vouchers for mobile home park units?
Yes, they are allowable for mobile home parks and single-family homes and also apartments.
Okay, fantastic. All right, thank you. So to the council now, Councilmember Robinson.
Remember to turn the mic on. You know, just reading through the staff report, what caught my eye was the wait list that you have. You're talking about over 4,800 people on a wait list that equates to like a 10-year. I'm just curious, how often do people move on and off that list? Is it, I mean, I can't imagine somebody just sits there and waits for 10 years.
We have a limited supply of vouchers, about 1,500 that we could utilize. And you're right, we have a list, and it's open, and people come on and they sign on. We periodically check to make sure that all their information is valid. They also have the responsibility to update us on anything. Just so you know, we also have preferences, a local preference. Folks that live and or work in Oceanside are preferred. They get higher up on the list. In addition, folks who are displaced by government condemnation or natural disasters is a preference, in addition to veterans and spouses of deceased veterans. So, it really depends on if you hit any of that criteria. But for someone who does not hit any of those preferences, it's typically a 10-year wait, which is unfortunate, but that's what we have with this limited commodity, these vouchers.
Thank you for that.
Councilmember Joyce?
I just try and take every moment that we can to talk about housing. So just a couple of things that I noticed also about the report. 30% of Oceanside households are very low income right now. So 30%, that's a very large number of households that are shouldering an overwhelming debt on paying their monthly rent or mortgage. Looking at our RENA numbers, looking at our regional housing needs assessment and what we've built since we started this cycle, we've built 28 very low income, because it can be very low, moderate, and above moderate. We've built 28 units of our need, which is 1,240 units. In that same time, we were able to build 1,000 units that are above moderate or market rate housing. So I bring this forward because I just want my colleagues to really keep this in mind as we're moving over the next handful of months, that like tonight I'm not asking for something. I'm going to support the plan as it is, but we've got to do something because there is a major crisis and a mismatch in the need of our residents and the housing stock that is provided. our new developments, we only require 10% to be low income, and that's not even very low. That's low income of all the either low, very low, or even moderate. So we are just at a big mismatch on what we are asking and what people need, and this is just another opportunity to show how far behind we are with that major 10-year wait as Councilmember Robinson brought forward. So I look forward to working together on policies that improve the situation for our residents, and I support the plan as is.
So is that a motion? Okay, there's a motion to adopt. There's a second. Yeah, the same numbers that were on page 4 were really glaring to me as well, that for us here in Oceanside, 30% of our community, that is 18,395 households, are characterized as very low income. And that for a family of 4, that means the annual income is no more than $65,000 a year for 4. I know we need to provide more help to our housing department to find ways of addressing this. I know that we've been doing very traditional kind of addressing, but we also see some creativity going on in our housing department. Part of the budget is to include another person in the housing department, which is desperately needed. I wish it could be 2 people. So I'm really happy that we're moving, that is in the budget. We do have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Motion approved, 4-0.
Thank you. Any other comments by council members on the dais? Okay, then really quickly, congratulations to the Oceanside Yacht Club. They had their opening ceremonies on Sunday, including their 60th anniversary, 60th. It's pretty fantastic. And then services for Mary Buchanan are next week, April 12th at 10 a.m. in Eternal Hills. We out here on the dais wish you all a blessed holiday season, Easter season, and we are adjourned to Wednesday, April 19th. Thank you.